Challenge of the Senior Junior Woodchucks is pretty in line with the previous other episode ones and season woohoo Atlantis story of the previous seasons. Whether it be, again, woohoo or the most dangerous game, Night, the form is pretty much the same with one of the nephews pretty much taking point in the story, with Scrooge doing his own thing, and the story is converging at that point, usually because they're in the same general spot. Honestly, I felt that Huey needed this more than the other two, as in addition to having very little to do in season one, a lot of his episodes are less about him and more about him playing a bigger role in other character stories. For example, when Fenton wants to, try to get to know Gandra D more, Huey and Webby are there, but it's not really their story. And even the internship of Mark Beeks is more of a Dewey-centric story. Here, though, it's very much Huey's story, and instead of Huey being the one to sort of help support the story, it's Violet, who is sort of this really great foil. Now, this actually might be my favorite Violet story, because every other time we see Violet, she's playing really primarily off of Webby and Lena. Lena, who has apparently been adopted by Violet's two dads, which to me felt like this should have been in a story elsewhere. Like, this also could have been a short. But anyway, the fact that Violet comes out of nowhere as a sort of dark horse to Huey's challenge to be a senior junior woodchuck is, I think, great, because she does play off of him very well. Huey is always pretty much very by the book. In his mind, a junior woodchuck does everything that the guidebook says, everything that the rules say. That's why he's at the jamborees and the functions. Violet's like, well, that's not really in line with the spirit of a junior woodchuck. So Violet's never there. She's out doing other stuff. And that's why she has more merit badges. It's a pretty simple way to show the differences between the two of them. Huey is the letter of the law, while Violet is the spirit of the law. And that's great. And also seeing this huge change, pretty great, as well as seeing how threatened Huey is by this. The fact that Huey has become, in his mind, and possibly even within the universe itself until Violet shows up, he is the default best woodchuck. And then Violet comes in, she does a better job of, she's better at it than him. And then seeing how quickly his siblings come and support him, like, no.
Now get out there and show the other nerds that you are King Nerd!
My only real gripe about this is I would have loved this had also been like a Huey and Della moment too, because Della's been in the Junior Woodchucks. Donald was, quote-unquote, in the Junior Woodchuck. That actually is a bit canon too, because there's an older story when Huey and Louie first joined the Junior Woodchucks under Don Rosa, and it reveals that pretty much for the same reason Della says, Donald didn't make it because of his temper. I would have liked that legacy to play up a bit more in the story, honestly. The idea that, Huey sees that he has to be because in his blood, because he knows the rules, and even mentioned that Della became Senior Junior Woodchuck, her first try would have helped too, and seeing her be like this great supportive mom, like, that's my baby. I love that. It's great. Then we get to the Scrooge story. The Scrooge story is actually pretty fun. I know some people weren't quite set on it, and personally, I like it for no other reason than the fact that we get this. You'd be surprised how few moments there are where Scrooge McDuck dances. But anyway, the idea that he has this big adventure in line, this hero he idolized, which I'm a bit apprehensive on. I always like the idea that Scrooge doesn't really have a hero, anyone that inspires him outside of possibly his father or his family for the most part, and maybe just the people he actually met and who taught him. Isabella Finch isn't a bad character. She's sort of a retcon. It's kind of a retcon. There's no mention of her in any other Junior Woodchuck lore that I've found. But the idea for the entire story is really just Huey and Scrooge have their ideas of what it means to be a woodchuck, what it means to go on an adventure, and primarily because of how important this is. Huey achieving his dream, Scrooge following in the footsteps of his inspiration. The idea that there could be different ways of doing this, that, it's not really the destination but the journey that matters, what Huey learns about himself over the course of this adventure, and what Scrooge learns about going off the beaten path, what he already knew, I think was really great, really very in line with the season 1 openers for this, whether it be, the most dangerous game night, which is Louie and Scrooge playing off of each other, well, juxtaposed to each other, and of course the back and forth between Scrooge and Dewey and their first story really does help shape it. Also, pretty much before the big finale of season 2, both seasons did end with the nephew and Scrooge hitting a sort of new bump in their relationship, or a new plateau with their relationship, whether it be Dewey and Scrooge sort of coming to terms with what happened to Della, or rather Dewey accepting that, they were all kind of wrong to jump down Scrooge's throat about Della, and the richest duck in the world. Granted, I really don't like that episode, but it is a Scrooge and Louie moment at the end, before the moon invasion comes in and totally steals the spotlight from that. And then, of course, there's the end. But real quick, before we get to the end, I really didn't like how the Scrooge story started, because the picture of Isabella Finch has always been there. It's always been there. And Scrooge just looks up like, wait, that paper. Oh, look, there's a map to it. Did no one else think to look at this? It's weird. Maybe it would have been better if it had been Della who saw it, because, Della's been gone. Della probably hasn't been to a Junior Woodchuck meeting in a good while, even before she went off into space. Just saying, I think that would have helped a bit more. Especially if Della gave the exposition about it, because whether Della's a Junior Woodchuck and she doesn't know about Isabella Finch, or she's surprised by the news about Isabella Finch. But anyway, then it turns out Fowl was after the book, and that is sort of like the really weird, weak point of the story, because to me, I'm scratching my head like, wait, you guys were looking for the book? Nothing about this episode implies that you were looking for the book. Also, why is the race on? It's just sort of a weird bit. Anyway, that's sort of it. Overall, I did like this, because Huey actually is my favorite of the three. I like good Junior Woodchuck. I like the Violet stuff. I like Huey and Violet's dynamic. I like Scrooge dancing. Again, show that.
Dee-doodly-doodly ha-ha. Dee-doodly-doodly ha-ha.
Yes, love it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to where the rest of the season goes. Anyway, if you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, if you like, comment, share, subscribe, check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.